The first thing Creth noticed was the calm. The noise that shattered the silence of centuries echoed off the metallic walls of the ancient vessel, reverberating through the dormant expanse like a memory come alive. His reptilian scales rippled with unease, pale blue eyes widening as his claws traced over the console. He hadn't meant to do anything, certainly not this. The dormant ship had been a relic, a prize from an ancient age when the Terran civilization had stretched across the galaxy, a civilization long gone, as far as everyone believed. And yet, the low rumble beneath his feet was unmistakable. Something was waking up. System initialization complete. Cryogenic pod sequence engaged. Creth swallowed, his elongated throat pulsing nervously. His kind had always revered the artifacts of humanity, studying the ruins they left behind while simultaneously reshaping the narrative of their dominance. In truth, humans had become myths, gods of a distant past, wrapped in the kind of propaganda that suited the Galactic Alliance's need to downplay their power. The myths had dulled the edges of human legacy, transforming them from conquerors into curiosities. Their technological marvels little more than museum pieces. But now it seemed something was about to change. The hiss of escaping gases filled the chamber as one of the cryopods shifted, its translucent cover beginning to clear. Creth's breath caught as he peered closer. A figure, humanoid in shape, stirred within, its features sharp, its eyes fluttering open as if waking from a deep dream. Creth's heart raced. He had activated it. A human. A real, breathing human. Commander Lucas Draeger opened his eyes, groggy but alert. It took only moments for his military instincts to kick in, even though the world around him was unfamiliar. The last thing he remembered was the deep sleep of cryogenic stasis, a desperate mission to outlast whatever calamity had threatened the colonies. But now, before him, stood a creature unlike anything he'd seen before. Lucas inhaled sharply, sitting up as the translucent cover fully lifted. He blinked, focusing on the blue-scaled, clearly non-human figure. His voice came out rough, a growl from disuse. "Where am I? Who are you?" Creth took an instinctive step back, his clawed feet clacking on the metal floor. He tried, unsuccessfully, to keep his voice from shaking. "You are aboard a Terran sleeper ship. I am Creth, an archaeologist. Please, don't be alarmed." Lucas swung his legs over the edge of the pod, his eyes narrowing as they adjusted to the dim lighting. "How long have I been out? What year is it?" Giano raised his eyebrows. Creth swallowed again, forcing the words out. "Approximately 4 centuries since the disappearance of your kind. The galaxy has changed." Lucas let the words sink in, his jaw tightening. 400 years. 400 years of emptiness, with his people lost to the pages of history. He stood slowly, his muscles stiff but obedient, and stared at the alien before him. There was something about the creature, a mixture of awe and fear, in its eyes, that hinted at the truth. "What happened to humanity?" Lucas demanded. "Tell me everything." Creth hesitated. He knew the stories, the way the Alliance had twisted the narrative. The Terrans were portrayed as a reckless species, too chaotic to rule, too dangerous to trust. Reduced to mere legends to keep the galaxy complacent. He had no choice but to tell this human the truth, but he feared what might happen if he did. They said you vanished," Creth whispered. "That humanity crumbled under its own hubris. The Galactic Alliance ensured the story was told in a way that painted your kind as a cautionary tale, a warning against ambition." Lucas stared at Creth, his expression hardening. He had expected devastation, perhaps defeat, but propaganda? Lies? He clenched his jaw, his heart pounding. Humanity had been more than a mere footnote in history. They had been explorers, builders, warriors. And now, it seemed, it was time for them to rise again. Lucas glanced around the room, his eyes catching the dim glint of technology long forgotten. The ship, His ship was a treasure trove of Terran ingenuity, equipped with tools that the current galactic inhabitants had likely never seen before. He looked back at Creth, his expression shifting from confusion to determination. "We're going to change that story," Lucas said, his voice steady and resolute. "We're going to remind the galaxy who we are. But first, I need you to help me get this ship fully operational." Creth blinked, taken aback. "Operational? But the Alliance, they won't allow it. They will see you as a threat." Lucas smiled, a flash of something fierce in his eyes. "Let them. I've faced worse." He extended his hand, an unmistakable gesture of camaraderie. "Are you with me, Creth, or are you going to let the myths keep you in chains?" Creth hesitated only a moment before taking Luke's hand. Perhaps it was the human's unwavering confidence, or perhaps it was the thrill of being part of something greater than his dull life of archaeology. Whatever it was, he nodded, a spark of hope igniting in his chest. "I'm with you," Creth said, his voice filled with determination. The first order of business was the ship. Lucas moved with purpose, each step bringing back memories of his time before the long sleep, the way things worked, the feel of the controls. Creth followed, his eyes wide with curiosity as Lucas brought systems online, one after another. The hum of machinery echoed through the vessel, the lights flickering on as power surged through its veins. "This technology," Creth muttered, half to himself. "The Alliance would never believe it. They think they understand Terran engineering, but this is something else." Lucas glanced over his shoulder, a small smile tugging at his lips. "They never understood what we were capable of, and they still don't." As the ship roared to life, Lucas turned his attention to the stars beyond the viewport. He needed information. Knowledge of the galaxy's current state, the players involved, and how humanity's memory had been twisted. He had Creth tap into the ship's communications, sifting through broadcasts and intercepted messages. Slowly, the picture began to form. The Galactic Alliance had expanded its influence, bringing countless worlds under its banner, but beneath the surface, Lucas saw something else: discontent, unrest, and fear. The propaganda that had worked for so long was beginning to crack, the myth of Terran arrogance no longer enough to keep the people complacent. Lucas saw opportunity in that. "We need allies," Lucas said, turning to Creth. "And I think I know where to start. The galaxy remembers us as conquerors, but they've forgotten our true nature. We were protectors, explorers, builders. We need to remind them of that." Creth nodded slowly. "There are factions, small groups that resist the Alliance. They're scattered, weak, but they could be convinced. If they see you, if they see what humanity really was, then they'll join us," Lucas finished. "We just need to show them the truth." Their first destination was a small moon on the edge of Alliance space. It was a haven for those who had nowhere else to go. Refugees, outcasts, rebels. The kind of people who had suffered under the Alliance's rule and had no love for their oppressors. Lucas brought the ship in low, its sleek angular design cutting through the atmosphere like a knife. As they descended, Creth looked nervously at the scanners. "We're being watched," he said, his voice tense. "The locals are suspicious." Lucas smiled, his eyes glinting with a hint of mischief. "Let's give them a reason to be curious, then." As they touched down, Lucas stepped out of the ship, his posture relaxed but confident. He could feel the eyes on him, the wary, distrustful gazes of those who had learned to fear anything unfamiliar. He raised his hands, palms open, and spoke, his voice carrying across the clearing. "My name is Lucas Draeger. I am a human, from the Terran colonies. I come in peace. I know what the Alliance has said about my kind, but I am here to tell you the truth." There was a murmur among the gathered crowd, a mix of disbelief and curiosity. Lucas could see the doubt in their eyes, the years of propaganda that had shaped their perception of humanity. He took a step forward, his voice steady and unwavering. They told you we were conquerors, that we sought only power, but that is not who we are. We were explorers, protectors, allies. We fought for freedom, for the right to live without fear, and we are here now, ready to fight again, not for dominance, but for justice. A figure stepped forward, a tall, gaunt alien with eyes like molten gold. He studied Lucas, his expression unreadable. You speak of justice, human, but why should we trust you? The Alliance says your kind brought chaos. Lucas met the alien's gaze, his eyes filled with a fierce determination. Because the Alliance fears what we represent. Not chaos, but hope. Hope that the galaxy can be more than a collection of worlds under their thumb. Hope that we can be free. For a long moment there was silence. Then slowly the alien nodded. Hope, he repeated, his voice soft. It has been a long time since we had that. Lucas extended his hand, the same gesture he had offered to Creth. Then stand with us. Help us show the galaxy that humanity's legacy is not one of fear, but of strength. Together, we can make a difference. The alien hesitated, then took Lucas's hand. A cheer went up from the crowd, tentative at first, then growing louder. Lucas felt a surge of emotion, hope, determination, and something else. A sense of purpose, of belonging. This was what he had been meant to do. Not to fade away into history, but to stand, to fight, to lead. Word of Lucas's return spread quickly. Across the galaxy, whispers of the human resurgence began to take root, carried by those who had seen him, who had heard his words and believed. The Galactic Alliance tried to suppress the rumors, but the cracks in their control were beginning to widen. People were starting to question, to wonder, if perhaps the stories they had been told were not the whole truth. Lucas and Creth moved from world to world, rallying those who had been oppressed, forging alliances with those who had lost hope. They were careful, strategic, avoiding direct confrontation with the Alliance's forces while building their strength. And slowly the tide began to turn. It wasn't long before the Alliance took notice. They sent a delegation, not soldiers, but diplomats, their intentions clear. They wanted to end this uprising before it could gain momentum, to cut the head off the snake before it could strike. Lucas met them on neutral ground, a small station orbiting a gas giant. He stood across from the Alliance envoy, a tall, elegant being with skin like polished marble and eyes that glowed with an inner light. The envoy regarded Lucas with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. Commander Draeger, the envoy said, their voice smooth and measured. The Alliance is willing to offer you terms. Cease your activities, disband your followers, and you will be allowed to live in peace. Lucas smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Peace? You mean submission. You want us to fade away, to let the galaxy forget who we were. The envoy's expression hardened. The alternative is war. You cannot hope to stand against the full might of the Alliance. Lucas took a step forward, his eyes locked on the envoy's. Perhaps not, but we can show the galaxy the truth. We can show them what you fear. That humanity is not gone. That we will not be silenced. And that there are others, countless others, who feel the same. For a moment there was silence. Then the envoy spoke, their voice tinged with frustration. You are a relic of the past, Draeger. The galaxy has moved on. Lucas shook his head, a fierce light in his eyes. No, the galaxy has forgotten. But we will remind them. We will remind them of what it means to be free. The envoy's gaze lingered on Lucas for a long moment, before they turned and left, their entourage following in silence. Lucas watched them go, a sense of calm settling over him. He knew what was coming. The battles, the sacrifices, the struggle, but he also knew that they were ready. He turned to Creth, who stood at his side, the archaeologist's eyes filled with a mixture of fear and hope. Lucas clapped a hand on his shoulder, a smile breaking through the intensity of his expression. We're just getting started, Lucas said, and they have no idea what's coming. Creth nodded, a smile of his own forming. For humanity, he said, his voice filled with conviction. Lucas looked out at the stars, his heart swelling with determination. For humanity, and for everyone who dreams of something more. The galaxy had forgotten the legacy of mankind, but Lucas Draeger was here to make sure it remembered, not as conquerors, not as monsters, but as the spark that would ignite the fires of freedom once more, and this time, nothing would stand in their way.